Greetings, my lovelies. It's time for another episode of Crushed Celluloid with Cole, $1,000 a Night Smith, and Marcus, Don't Lean on My Machine Jones. Today, we'll be discussing the 1981 Burt Reynolds magnum opus, Sharky's Machine. You know, I think we were both kind of disappointed at first when we learned that there were no sharks, no robots, and no combinations of the two anywhere in this film. But once we were able to move past that, we found something that was even more intriguing. So comb your stashes, snort your heroin, and slap your lady. It's time for Crushed Celluloid.
Okay, so today we are talking about Sharky's Machine. Burt Reynolds' bizarre attempt at making a Dirty Harry movie is kind of what I got from it.
Yeah, but not.
No,
it's I guess what Burt Reynolds thinks Burt Reynolds would be as Dirty Harry.
Yes, it's because Burt Reynolds is the director. This is his it's his third movie to direct. After he had done Gator and something called This Is the End.
Yeah, just The End.
The End, yeah. And then he does this, and it just, I don't know, it has a certain ineptitude to it, but it just works so well. It's this movie, it was ridiculous.
It is ridiculous, and I enjoyed it for the most part.
Yeah,
but it just has so much wrong with it. Like, the dialogue is awful. It is horrendous.
It's so bad.
Like, half of my notes are just writing down actual lines of dialogue from the movie that I was just like, I couldn't come up with anything better to say than this.
I mean, I am surprised this is not like a midnight movie or something. This is batshit.
Yeah, and this is actually, I think, his most successful movie that he directed as well. Out of like he had like a run of like 4 movies he directed from 76 to 85, because he did, like you said, Gator, The End, Sharky's Machine, and then Stick.
Yeah, and I saw on Rotten Tomatoes it has a 91% freshness rating. Like, it is ridiculous.
91, really?
Ridiculously high.
It has like a 6.3 on IMDb, but a 91? Yeah. Are you fucking kidding me?
Unless I saw that wrong, yeah, 91% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah. So, of course, like we said, this is both directed and starring Burt Reynolds, who I'm sure everyone knows from Cop and a Half and Striptease, things like that.
Yeah.
His gems. And he plays a character named Tom Sharky. That's this guy's name, Tom Sharky. And I will say, I do love the tagline for this movie, which is just, Burt is Sharky. Nobody leans... No. Nobody leans on Sharky's machine.
What? Oh, man. Oh, and the title may mislead you because it has nothing to do with sharks or machines.
I thought there was going to be some kind of machine in this, and I went most of the movie just wondering what the fuck machine means, because they say it a lot in the. It took me a while to get that it means like a police unit, I guess, or like a group working on a case. They're known as a machine.
Yeah, which I'm not positive is a real thing, but
I've never heard of it, and I've seen a lot of cop movies.
Maybe that's just some intensely deep research that...
Well, it's also based on a book as well. It's based on a book called Sharky's Machine, written by William DIEHL, and he actually apparently wrote the book with Burt Reynolds in mind as the character.
I don't even have any precursors to go into this, because I don't know what to compare this movie to. Like, Dirty Harry is the best I get, and it's not even close to that. It is...
Pretty much. It's like Dirty Harry in Atlanta, because it is shot in Atlanta and all takes place in Atlanta. Even though I don't even know if the word Atlanta is ever mentioned. Georgia is mentioned, but I don't think it ever says Atlanta.
Yeah, so let's just jump in. Okay, so the opening is... It has it, and once again, playing on the Dirty Harry thing, like, the music is like a very vast misunderstanding of the music of Dirty Harry. Also, it's this weird jazz that goes into R&B every once in a while.
Well, not just that. Like, when I first started watching this, I kind of read the description. I was like, oh, Burt Reynolds is a cop, blah, blah, blah. When I see him walking along, you see him walking along the train tracks and walking through abandoned buildings, I was like, wait, is he a hobo? Like, because he's walking around, he's dirty, he's dressed like a hobo, and they're playing a song called Street Life. I was like, oh, maybe I got this movie all wrong.
And he is walking for what seems like miles on these train tracks. Like, he goes through clear spaces where the air's fine, then he's all of a sudden it's all really foggy, so like how far has he walked that it's all of a sudden foggy?
Yeah, obviously we find out that he's on like an undercover operation, but it seems like he walked from like the complete opposite side of town to go to his meeting.
I love when he's walking, and it kind of sets up, I felt like it was setting up the character, but it didn't really, where he's walking beside this building, and then he cuts through the building, and there's a leaning door in his way, and not like moving it out of the way, he just fucking punches it, and it just goes flying.
That's actually what I had too. I was like, Sharky hates doors.
Fucking hates the doors. And so he makes it to under a bridge where he meets a black guy in a car, and he's buying a shit ton of heroin, I guess, for that amount of money. Like, what the fuck?
It's heroin, yeah.
Yeah, it's not even like a huge amount. It's like a baggie that's pretty goodly filled.
Well, that's what I thought, because when he showed all the money, I was like, oh, he's gonna get like, fucking brick of it or something.
Yeah.
But no, it's just like a little loosely closed plastic bag that has just like it's maybe like an eighth of the way filled up.
Yeah, it's like what a junkie would get on an especially good payday.
Yeah, but he did say, I guess it's really pure. He said you could cut it like eight times.
Yeah, and Burt Reynolds like takes it out and puts it in his little test tube, which is like, that should be a dead giveaway that something's up.
Exactly, because he might take a taste of it, which is what I thought he was gonna do. But if he's like a lowly drug dealer, I doubt he's gonna carry around like a scientific test kit to test the purity of heroin.
So that should have been the first giveaway, but no, it turns out that this car coming in under this bridge, which I don't know why that would be something to give away, freaks the big drug dealer out. He's like, oh man, this is fucked up. He drags Sharky along, and he's just like, if this guy comes all the way down here, you're gonna die. And the guy in the car, which his name's Smiley, who we find out is a cop, screams out, "Hey Sharky, you alright? It's me, Smiley." And you're just like, who is this fucking idiot? What is happening?
I love that. And immediately, like, just because, I guess, I don't know if he gave him a different name or something, but I guess just because he's like, "Hey Sharky, you okay?" Like, he starts shooting at him, and he's like, "Oh no, you're a cop."
Yeah. So
it's like, my friend saw me, what the fuck?
And so what would have been like a simple drug deal immediately turns into this guy firing at police officers, running through a crowded city and taking hostages.
And by the way, I love, because he has like a big gun, kind of like a Dirty Harry gun,
like a 45,
much. Yeah, and he basically like he shoots at a cop car. One shot hits the hood of the cop car, and it fucking explodes.
Just blows up.
I was baffled by that.
Yeah, I was just like, is this a Michael Bay film? All of a sudden?
Pretty much. So basically, the guy kidnaps a woman and like takes her on a bus and takes a bus hostage, pretty much.
Yeah.
But for some reason, she got referred to as a pregnant bitch, but she didn't really seem to be showing any signs of being pregnant, so I don't know where the fuck that came from.
I guess maybe it was cut where she screams, "I'm pregnant!" Like, that's gonna stop him. Like, oh, I'm sorry, ma'am. Let me let you go.
But yeah, so he does that. Burt Reynolds ends up shooting him to death. But in doing so, he shoots the guy, and his gun goes off and shoots a passenger on the bus. So he gets an innocent civilian shot. Also,
the bus driver gets shot. Yeah, like casual collateral damage happens during this. So Sharky gets demoted from narcotics to vice squad, which is located in the basement of the police headquarters.
It is. It's kind of silly too, just because it does seem like a very dark, damp basement where no one goes, and then it's just full of fucking people when he walks in, like it's any other office in the building. And there are so many people. The dialogue. Oh my god, the random dialogue that you hear as he's walking through that office. I had to write some of the lines down because it was just hilarious.
I had to stop because I had too much. I was just like,
I just heard this one guy going like, "So I had an erection. I always do." And then I hear a cop say to this one guy, is like, "You can't go around pulling your dick out every Monday." And the guy goes, "But it's my day off." Oh god, just that's
great
our introduction
reasoning.
to the Vice Department. Like that's the shit that they deal with on a regular basis.
Yeah, and our introduction to the chief of Vice Squad. And by the way, Vice Squad mainly deals with hookers. And the chief is just like talking to a guy. He's like, "She's a hooker. Fuck her or get rid of her." I love the chief of this movie. He is so eccentric.
I think
so insane.
this is where the crazy captain cliche came from.
It has to be. Oh my
Like,
God.
I know there were definitely cop movies before this. There are always kind of angry captains, but this guy is so fucking over the top. Like, I think he set the bar for any, like, crazy yelling police captain that came after him. Because he does not stop yelling the entire movie. Every time he says a word of dialogue after he initially meets Sharky in the downstairs, it's yelling. He just constantly, even when there's no need to, it makes no sense. He's just yelling at everybody.
The job has definitely gotten to this guy, and the fact that he is still employed at that police department is a miracle all of its own. Like,
and of course, part of the cliche is that he's only 2 years from retirement.
but they deal with that in the line later on where he's talking to the Zen black guy. I don't remember his name.
Arch.
Arch, Arch. But he's talking.
Who, by the way, is Bernie Casey, who you might recognize from, like, he was the principal or the teacher in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Oh shit! Yeah, well, I didn't recognize it. But when he's talking to him, and he's like, "I'm only 2 years from retirement." He's like, "You've been saying that since I've known you," so essentially saying that he's always been 2 years from retirement. Because when I heard that, at first I was like, "Oh, he's gonna die because he's so close to retirement." But no, it's that he just always says he's 2 years from retirement. He is just a neurotic, like, anger problem man.
And he's racist.
Racist?
And sexually frustrated.
Yeah. Oh my god. Okay, we'll get to that. Holy shit. Okay.
So pretty much after this whole Vice Squad meet thing where he meets his crew and everything like that, it cuts to, again, one of just a random shot that has nothing to do with anything in the movie. Like, there's a shot from the outside of a building as, like, the elevator goes up.
Yeah, and I feel like this shot was conceptually, it's one of those shots that sounded a lot better than it actually turned out, because it starts off from very far away and it takes almost a full minute till it gets to anywhere close to you. It's just you're slowly focusing on a building. You're like, what the fuck's happening? Also, you realize it's going towards a glass elevator, but there's so many reflections on the building. It just looks horrible. It looks like tinsel on the screen. It is
And this
ugly.
is where we're introduced to our two bad guys, which is it's so fucking hilarious because you can tell they're the bad guys because the music cue changes to bad guy music, and both the pimp guy and then when it cuts to the assassin guy, they both just have like this weird lighting on one side of their face. Like, it's pretty much dark except like the lighting on the side of their eye is really bright. It's like, okay, there's our bad guys. I got it.
Yeah, who comes in and murders them both really quick. And the girl doesn't scream or anything. She just sits there in, like, utter shock. And I guess you would if you were blind and you heard a gunshot. You're like, oh, shit. I can't do
Well, she would have done more than just heard it, because it was right there, and he shot the dude in the chest right next to her. She would have felt something going on. Yeah, but not only that, but then we get introduced to how fucking creepy this assassin character is. Because it's just like, my blind angel, and then shoots her in the head.
Oh, this guy's out there. We'll find out.
I do love that. He's one of my favorite characters in the movie.
Oh, he was great. He was so great. And so we go from that to a political rally where it's Burt Reynolds' first time on Vice, where he's going to go capture his first hookers, which I don't know much about hookers. I don't think they hang out at political rallies. I do not think that is where they get their customers.
Yeah, it seems like it. But the one thing I love is when he goes and meets with the first two hookers that he kind of busts. She's holding a Karl Marx book.
What?
Yeah, you didn't see that? The one that was in the tiger print stuff that he eventually talks to at the jail and stuff. Yeah, she's holding a Karl Marx book.
Oh shit, that makes so much more sense.
And yeah, because when she starts talking, when they're like locking her up and stuff like that.
Yeah, she's like, this is political sexist persecution. I was like, she is very well informed for a hooker. Like, you wouldn't expect that from most hookers.
That's why she had the Karl Marx book.
Yeah, she's enlightened. I wonder if that's the book, or if that's the screenplay, or if that's just Burt Reynolds' concept of how hookers function.
I don't even know.
Part
of me kind of wants to go read the book, but the majority of me does not.
I don't think it'd be worth it.
I think I got everything out of Sharky's machine I could possibly want with this movie.
I don't even know how to, like I said at the beginning, I don't even know how to breach this movie. It's almost surreal in how, but it's like a movie. But then it's not. It's really
it's all over the place. It's like 8 different movies tied in together, and none of them work quite right. I don't know. It is laughably bad a lot of the times, but yeah. I genuinely enjoyed watching this movie.
I love the shit out of this movie. Like I will be recommending this and watching it with other people later because I had a ball. I had an absolute ball during this movie.
You just got yourself a new conversation starter. When you're out at the bars, you're gonna be like, "Hey, you seen Sharky's machine?" No? Well, let me drop some knowledge on you.
Let me paint a picture. And for the first 30 to 40 minutes, I was kind of bored. And I was just like, you know what? It feels so procedural. And I almost called you up and just like, maybe we shouldn't do this. I'm not getting much out of this other than standard cop procedural. And then it keeps getting weirder and weirder.
Well, that was the thing. Basically, I think from the moment they're at the political rally and I saw the hooker with the Karl Marx book, and then we go to them getting locked up and like her screaming and stuff like that, I was like, okay, this movie has something to it. I'm going to keep going on this.
Yeah, there's something happening here.
And something I didn't fucking understand is that when he does take the hookers back to, the Vice Squad area, and they're booking them and everything like that, there's a pimp that they have in there. And he basically like copies down like the names of hookers out of his book and stuff like that. But it's not the pimp bad guy in the movie.
Exactly. You think that's going to be him.
Yeah. But it's not. And why would that guy have like the names of someone else's hookers if those aren't his hookers?
But my favorite thing during this scene where she gets through the locker is the in-between scenes where this guy is interviewing a hooker and he's just like, "What's your name?" "Rachel." And then you see her, it has like long hair, it looks like a woman. He's like, and then it kind of comes around, you can see it's a man. He's just like, well, you better just make it Ralph. And then later, the best line is, she is trying to go to the bathroom, if you don't let me go, I'll have to do it here. But this place is a shithole, so I guess it wouldn't matter anyway. And the cop that's interviewing her looks stricken by existential ennui. Like he just kind of looks at her and bows his head like he has just been defeated.
That comment really hit home because he kind of looks at her and kind of like, he drops his head a little bit, but then he's like, I guess it wouldn't matter, would it?
So they get these hookers' names, and they notice Arch notices that they are all 7 letters, and so Burt Reynolds realizes, oh, these are phone numbers, and they put them together, and they sure are. And so he's like, we need 7 wiretaps for these 7 names we have. And they're like, oh, we can't do that, we're just Vice, everyone hates us. And so he's like, no, I know a guy. And so
it's basically they could get like I think 5 out of the 7 done, but they wouldn't approve. It's weird. The numbers don't make sense because they're like, okay, we got 5, and then they're like, oh, but there's 1 that we can't get, and then he was like, no, we need 6. We can't do it. We can only get 5. There were 7. Well, like the numbers don't add up. But there's pretty much someone else had the case on that one, I guess, or they wouldn't let them get the one number, which is dominoes.
Yeah, the court wouldn't let them do 1 number, essentially, or however that's handled.
But of course, Reynolds is like, I got a guy.
Yeah, and so we meet Nosh.
Okay, so I will say something about this before you get into your bit about this. So Burt Reynolds in this movie, he's not like the cool, badass, like charismatic Burt Reynolds that you usually see in movies. He's much more of a weird, awkward, creepy Burt Reynolds.
I feel like he feels like he's being cool. He thinks he is being cool and collected, and it's not coming off that way.
Not at all. And this is one of the first scenes where I was just like, man, this isn't the Burt Reynolds I know in this movie.
Yeah.
And there's this weird scene where he basically, because they're friends from way back, and he tells his daughter good night. and he basically like hugs her and gets, kisses her or whatever, but then he goes back for a second kiss because apparently she was talking when they kissed the first time, so he kisses her again, and it's just really weird, creepy child kissing going on.
it was entirely strange because the guy and the father is just like, come on, she wants to kiss you, and it's not like you would talk about a child. It's this weird like, hey dude, she's into you. Like, it's this weird almost nod to Burt Reynolds, and Burt Reynolds is just, and the music just starts going like dun dun dun, like it's just this very sweet like.
Well, it's supposed to be like a family moment, like that's kind of like his surrogate family, I guess.
But it does not come off that way. It comes off very child rapey because he kisses her full on the mouth the first time.
Oh, and the second time, but he's like, no, that's not good enough. You were talking while we were kissing the first time. Kiss me again. And it's just very weird.
It is very pedophilic, and the music cue is not helping at all, because the music is just like, it's this romantic swell of a music almost.
Well, that's the thing. If it's your daughter, kiss her on the mouth, tell her goodnight. If it's your friend's daughter, even if you're kind of like, Uncle Bert, you don't really go in for the full kiss, especially not for round 2.
You kiss their forehead.
You kiss their forehead, kiss their cheek,
You do not kiss them on the fucking mouth.
Yeah.
I guess this is 1981, before they were really cognizant so much, like before people were really on the watch for that kind of thing as much. Like, it's still, but it would still kind of be maybe little bit of a topic.
Yeah, it may be just us living in this time and being so ultra aware of it. It seems off to see something like that. But I also think that it just looked kind of off in general.
Yeah, and this movie, because this is this whole movie, the theme that kind of runs through it is the movie is trying to get something across, and it is not getting across what it thinks it is getting across. Because the scene was kind of trying to set up Burt Reynolds loves children, kind of.
And that this is like his best friend, they go way back.
Yeah, and no, it just comes off as very child molesty. And then so
and it doesn't help his case because Reynolds is a fucking creeper in this movie. Like, he is just very weird and awkward and just a little off.
Yeah.
So basically, we get after that, Burt Reynolds is basically going to be on 24-hour watching the one person that they couldn't do the wiretap on. So they go and like tap it themselves, and he's watching this woman 24 hours a day from across the street.
No, because before that, the tech guy gets some of the phone calls from Domino, the woman they wanted to get.
Oh yeah,
and that's the scene where we see the chief listening to Domino's sexy phone calls with other men, and all we see is the back of his head, and he is just like, oh yeah, and she's like, oh, my nipples are hard. She's like, oh yeah, what color are they? And this is in a room full of people, like everyone is sitting here watching him, and
that police chief is so fucking sexually frustrated. Like, he is just groaning and just, it seems like he is in pain. Like he hasn't come in 7 years.
Yeah, and just that weird focus on the back of his head, I just expect it to start bobbing, like, as he's just jerking himself off in this room with all the other people, just like, shut up, you let me listen. And I love that Nosh, he's just like, oh yeah, listen to the voice on this one. He just jumps up, he's like, where's the tape? I love her voice. Like, it is so insanely over the top. It is.
Well, that's the thing, and he is fantastic in this movie, but he is so
wonderful.
over the top in every scene, every delivery, and it is just beautiful. Like, from now on, whenever I think of, like, the police chief, the police captain, this is the guy that's going to pop up in my head.
This guy is the template of the insane police chief. And this is where we find out that Domino, the hooker that Burt Reynolds wants to start monitoring, she's hooking up with the governor. Or the person that's running for governor, and that's where they're like, oh, we can't hand this off to anyone else because they're going to ruin the case. We have to keep this to ourselves. And so Burt Reynolds gets to set up an apartment across from Domino's luscious, fancy apartment.
Yeah, and his is just like a room. It's just a little hotel room, it looks like.
Yeah, and Burt Reynolds and Nosh get to go in and they bug her apartment. It's not really explained how they actually get into the apartment. They're just kind of there. And then... Well,
they look like they're maybe supposed to be workmen or something. They're wearing uniforms.
But it doesn't show anyone letting them in. They just they're there. And then they run out when they find out she's coming, and they act like they're repairing
which again, it's two guys each with a screwdriver and screwing an elevator.
We are gonna be so efficient if we do this at the same time. We are saving so much on labor right now.
Yeah, well, that's what's funny, because she doesn't suspect a thing, but if I walked out of an elevator and saw two different guys, each with a screwdriver, unplugging or unscrewing the plate for the elevator I just came out of that wasn't even out of order, yeah, that would seem a little off to me.
Like, you guys are hiding something, but no, she just turns around and gives sexy face to Reynolds. That's her reaction. And so this starts off Burt Reynolds surveilling, and apparently half the time it's just a party in that room, and anyone who wants to watch comes in. Like, there is the first time they're watching surveillance, I love it when him and Nosh are in the other room. So it talks about Vietnam, like when he got the only time he paid for a hooker was in Vietnam, and stuff like that. And that brings up, there is a lot of weird Asian stuff in this movie, and a lot of very racist Asian stuff in this movie at the same time. This movie has a weird fixation on Asians and like Asian culture. I don't know where it fits in, but it's just kind of there.
I don't know, and that's a thing that I need to know if it's in the book or if that's just Reynolds' personal touch. He just has a thing for Asian people. So, like, we have Asian hookers. We randomly have ninjas later in the film. Yeah, and just like a lot of use of the word chink and stuff like that, and Jap, and things like that. It's very off-putting, but yeah, there's a weird Asian element in here that's very odd, because from what I remember of Atlanta, not a huge Asian population there.
It's just, it's some weird narrative choice someone made along the way, and I would like to know who made that choice. Like, where is all this Asian, because they talk about Asian food at least 3 or 4 times during the movie.
Yeah, it really makes no sense and has no place. But yeah, it's another thing, and that's what this movie has a lot of. It has things that are just there for no real reason, and it doesn't really advance the plot. It doesn't really have a lot to do with the plot. It's just there because Burt Reynolds wanted it there, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. So while Reynolds is watching Domino, we find out that she has a friend named Tiffany that comes over and hangs out with her and stuff, and they're talking, and she's like, I don't want to do it, blah, 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 I don't like the kind of stuff they make you do, and you think they're talking about prostituting, but you would assume the way they're talking about it, but no, they're talking about going to a dance class, and Reynolds basically follows them to this dance class, and you get this kind of weird little dance montage, and it's just kind of off-putting, because like the first shot is just a close-up of her ass moving back and forth. And it's not even that flattering. It's kind of flat and kind of weird looking and scrunched up.
That's what they liked in 80s asses.
I
flat.
Guess.
They liked flat 80s asses.
But yeah, that happens, and we kind of see Burt Reynolds' face through the window and the door as they're like dancing around. And this is just another thing to establish what a fucking creeper Burt Reynolds is.
So fucking creepy.
He's just standing there, just staring in the most awkward way at these girls dancing inside the studio. He doesn't say anything. He doesn't come in. He just stands there and watches, and he's not even trying to be like nonchalant about it and like kind of peek in. He's just standing there dead-eyed staring at him.
And then he goes back to the room where he's listening to the girl, and she kind of makes a noise in bed, and he hears it, and he just whispers. That was my favorite scene when I saw it earlier. He whispers at the tape recorder, "Roll over."
Well, and that's the thing. It is just the weirdest fucking falling in love montage ever, because it's Burt Reynolds watching Domino, kind of learning her habits, watching her all the time, and falling in love with her while she is completely oblivious to his existence. Yes, but it sets it up in the music and everything, like they're sharing all these moments.
Yeah.
Like there is that thing where and I actually got confused for a second, because it shows her laying in bed, and then him kind of like sitting there with a cigarette, and I could have sworn he was like sitting on her bed. And I was like, oh, did they fuck already? And it was like, oh no, he's talking to the tape recorder telling her to roll over. And he's just basically like, he's acting like he is there in the room with her, and he is just like doing things with her. They're eating at the same time, they go to bed at the same time. He's like singing songs that she's singing, and it's just very creepy. And I started thinking this was going to go in a really weird direction where he just becomes obsessed with her, and it kind of like doesn't even worry about the political thing or his job or anything anymore. It's just him obsessed with this woman that doesn't know he exists. But no, that doesn't happen,
because really. I thought it was going to turn into like an action rom-com where he slowly falls in love with her. He sets up this way to actually meet her. They meet, start falling in love. She finds all these tape recordings. And by the way, the tape recorders are always running, which is not how you do surveillance. You only tape record when something pertinent has happened. You do not tape record every second they are in that apartment, because that is a lot of wasted tape. But anyway, you would think, like, she finds the tape and she's like, oh my god, what's this? He's like, no, I swear, I love you, I'm sorry, I had to do this to save you, and she just storms off and gets captured by a pimp and he has to go save her. That was my conception of what the movie be. Not at all. That is not even close to what is coming up.
By the way, in doing this, he is watching her for at least several days.
Oh, at least.
You know what? For a hooker, she doesn't do a lot of fucking.
No.
We see no clients come up there. We never see her leave to like go do clients or anything like that. She apparently makes $1,000 a night fucking people, but we never once see her do an actual like hooking job.
No, that is strange. Yeah, I didn't really process that, but yeah, she doesn't appear to actually do her job ever, as far as we can tell. And because the governor, who is her sugar daddy, doesn't even know she's a hooker. We found out he thinks she's a dancer.
Well, she thinks she's a dancer.
She also, yeah. If we're gonna be honest about it.
Yeah. She considers herself a dancer who happens to do some hooking on the side.
Yeah.
Just until her career takes off.
Just like all the dancers I've ever known.
But after this, we actually get introduced to the main bad guy of the film, who is the Italian pimp.
Yeah.
And, yeah, this is kind of when he actually goes and sees Domino, and we kind of learn a little bit about their relationship, and we find out that Domino wants to stop hooking, and he, of course, doesn't want to let her go, but he's like, come on, one more time. One more time. We're going to do everything that we have done and everything we haven't done.
Like, oh my god, that sounds dirty. And I love that because at first he comes in speaking Italian, and she's talking Italian back to him. And the first line, if I remember right, that he says in English is, I love the sound of that door. Like, what sound? Like, what sound did that door make? What are you talking about?
I guess the sound when he comes in and the door closes and he's with her, but it's still just a weird line.
It didn't play that, because one of the lines I had, because she's telling the pimp about how the governor bought her a house, and he was saying, like, that's not good enough for you or me, baby. Our dreams are bigger than that. Our eyes are wider. And it's like, it reminded me of Harvey Keitel in Taxi Driver, just not done nearly as well or as convincingly. Just like where you can understand to a certain degree why Jodie Foster would like follow Harvey Keitel to like, and just keep doing these things, how she suckered in. It makes no sense why she suckered in by this guy. This guy's not smooth. He doesn't, like...
Well, apparently we find out later that he found her when she was 12.
Yeah, so I guess that's the explanation, but like I said, like Harvey Keitel just has this ambiance about him, just like, I can understand why someone would get suckered in by this. He has a charisma about him. This Italian guy doesn't have any charisma. He's just sleazy.
Kind of slimy and creepy.
Yeah, like where Harvey Keitel is sleazy, but he's charming in a sleazy way.
Okay, but back to Sharky's machine though, because okay, so basically, yeah, they start fucking and whatnot, and Burt Reynolds is still over there watching, and Burt Reynolds is crying as they're fucking.
Oh, and I love it when he's like, oh, when you think you're a dancer, and she's like, I am a dancer, and Burt Reynolds chimes in, she is a dancer. Like that weird 80s jerky dancing, like very showgirl style, is like
it was basically kind of like Staying Alive.
Yeah, and apparently that makes you a wonderful dancer in Burt Reynolds' eyes. But yeah, I love, like, yeah, they start having sex and Burt Reynolds just has tears coming down his face. And they were there before the shot even started, so he's just no, I'm not gonna cry on screen.
Yeah, no, they're just gonna be there.
Yeah, they're just gonna just put the saline on my cheeks. We're gonna and shoot it. And it's supposed to be touching, but it's creepy and voyeuristic. Like, once again, the movie is trying to posit that it's sweet that he feels this way. It's not coming across. It's coming across
and really, like, he's crying about this, but she is a hooker. She fucks a lot of people.
Yeah, he should...
Like, he knows this. Like, why would her having sex with someone make him cry like that? She does it all the time, apparently.
He should be a little bit more disconnected from this. And another thing to point out that we did earlier is that almost from the time that he starts watching her, he is immediately smitten. there is not a time where he's just like stone-faced about like, this is my job. The entire time it's almost like, I knew I was bound to love this girl. I need to have this girl in my life, which makes it once again really creepy and posits something entirely different than what this movie is trying to tell us is happening.
Exactly. It's almost like Burt Reynolds is just really desperate for like some kind of human connection and he can't get it. So like he gets a chance to just watch this woman and it's like, oh my god, that's the perfect relationship. I love her. I don't have to talk to her. I don't have to be around her. I can just watch her and pretend that she loves me too.
Yeah, this movie had something a lot cooler going on that it never addressed.
This really just could have been a very good psychological thriller.
Yes, it could have been, and it just totally drops that ball. And so after this, she starts closing the drapes more, and Burt Reynolds can't quite see her. He can kind of watch her silhouette, and he's just like, come on, open the drapes. Like, you want to get some air, or you want to get some light in there. Once again, very creepy what's happening. And then we see the shot of the stoic hooker killer again, and we watch him in this other apartment, and we see him like doing lines of some powder, and
I'm pretty sure it was heroin.
Yeah, probably heroin. The way, anyways, he's doing drugs. And then he takes a sawed-off shotgun, and he goes, and he knocks on Domino's door. And we see the silhouette running towards the door, and Burt Reynolds is like, oh, what's happening? Which
is weird, too, because he's very much, like, scared immediately. He's like, oh my god, what's going on? And it's like, maybe she has a friend coming over.
Yeah,
you don't know.
I mean, she's a hooker. People are probably going to come see her at some point in time.
Yeah, but he just immediately seemed like he knew something was up, which is kind of weird.
And so we see her run to the door, and just blam, he fucking shoots the shotgun through the door. Like, all we see through the hole that he looks in afterwards, where the girl's face is just fucking gone. Burt Reynolds like, holy shit, just runs over, and he finds just the girl with her face missing and the door. And the next scene, they set up this crying scene where they set up a body outline that looks like it's drawn in fucking crayon around her body. And there's just blood everywhere. And the chief is going batshit. He's just like, why did we call homicide? Like, his voice is breaking this entire time. I think he had strep throat. They're just like, fuck, we can't replace him now. So
I guess, yeah, but he is just yelling at everybody about everything. Even when people are just calmly answering, and he just keeps yelling. And this is one of the things that kind of starts in this movie, is that they keep repeating lines. And I don't know if it's like for some kind of effect, or if they just repeat the same lines for some reason. But pretty much like the medical examiner and one of the other guys, I guess Arch, just kind of like say something to the captain, and then the captain yells at them, and then they say the exact same thing to the captain again. And I don't know what's up with that.
It was weird. It was just like the scene, like they were ad-libbing, and they just didn't know where to cut, and so they just kept it all.
But it happens several times where they just repeat the exact same lines.
Yeah, there is some very lazy either script reading or script writing happening in this movie.
And editing, apparently.
Yeah, it is. It's bad. And so they figure out to go to this other apartment somehow, and they find...
That's what I didn't get.
No,
because they basically say, like, oh, there weren't any other apartments available in that building. And it's like, oh, well, there were people there out of town. But yeah, for somehow it doesn't explain it. But he just immediately he realizes that he must have been watching her from the exact same level he was watching her. And it must have been a couple doors down.
Yeah, doesn't make any sense.
No, not at all.
And they find a pill on the floor, and I love that they go, and like there's this whole like figuring out thing scene. It's the most chipper music you could possibly have after this brutal murder. It's just like
exactly. It's such a tonal shift. It's this murder just happened. Everything is really serious, and then they cut to a police work montage.
Yes,
where it's just like, gotta solve the crime. Gotta solve the crime.
We're working on the case and putting some chemicals and some things. It is the weirdest scene, and I love it.
And also, there's where Burt Reynolds goes and talks to the governor. It's kind of like towards the end of this montage.
Yeah.
And for some reason, like, you kind of get a close-up of them talking, and you can see what they're saying, but for some reason the dialogue is not there. It's just like them mouthing the words, and you can kind of see what they're saying, but it's just such a weird choice to not have the dialogue there.
Because it goes from that chipper, like, we are working reporting in, we are doing this. And it goes from that music to Burt Reynolds says domino. And the governor, you just see him take him aside and they're talking silently. And it goes to that, like, hearing aid problem type sound where it's like,
yeah,
just like, it's once again, just a breakneck tonal shift and like, what is happening here? And it goes from that. And I feel like they had to do that. They had to have the silent part so that they could go to their next scene without blending the music, because the next scene is where they're at a music club where some blues music is being played, which is at very odds with whatever music just happened before.
Yeah, which is kind of a silly scene to begin with, and
Yeah.
I just love how out of place Burt Reynolds looks in this bar. By the way.
Yeah, I love that. So it not Ash. I keep wanting to say it. Arch is interviewing this. He's talking to this. He's an informant. We find out he's trying to find out who has gotten this large order for DIEHL dudes, because it's explained by way of computer screen during the forensics montage where they type out for some reason DIEHL dude and then explain what a DIEHL dude is.
Yeah,
like,
they tell you the street names. They tell you like what it is. Yeah, it's weird.
It's pretty funny because it's like, wouldn't that already be in the database? Why are they typing this in at this time? It's very strange. So Arch in an interview or tries to get information out of the club owner hard. He throws him over a small ledge,
which I love. Yeah, because again, I don't know why he was so threatened, because all he did was just kind of like land on some boxes.
Yeah, when he was
like not even a whole floor down, it seems like.
No,
but I love a line that the guy has when he starts roughing him up a bit. He's like, "You're gonna hear from my lawyer and my attorney."
Both of them. And the guy gets threatened when he sees the killer in the background, so he throws Arch into the trash cans and runs away.
This is hilarious because it cuts to Burt Reynolds, and he immediately, it's like he felt a disturbance.
Yes,
in the force.
I know.
He just like, as soon as like Arch gets hit and he starts running away, it cuts to Burt Reynolds and he's like,
something's wrong.
Something's wrong. And then he runs outside.
It's so wild. And then that's where we're introduced to the ninjas out of nowhere.
Oh, I paused the movie when this happened, and I had to get my thoughts straight. I was like, what the fuck? Ninjas out of nowhere?
With nunchucks.
Movie. Seriously, movie, are you doing this to me?
Like, what?
So yes,
so
I guess
wild.
this assassin who has been killing everyone throughout the film and seems like he's supposed to be a badass, hires ninjas to kill people for him.
Yes, then this is just where the ninjas are introduced.
Yeah, pretty much like the informant tries to run away, and you think that, the assassin's gonna pop out, kill him or whatever.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
no, out of nowhere, two ninjas pop out and just start beating him up with nunchucks and like knives and stuff, and just beat the shit out of him and then leave him for dead.
I can't even begin to wrap my head around this movie and what went into this process. Like, I wish this was back in the day of making of documentaries, because I want to know how this movie was made.
Seriously, if I ever get a chance to meet Burt Reynolds, my first question is just going to be, ninjas, why?
Why nunchuck ninjas? I don't get it.
So yeah, it basically cuts from that. We see the governor in the car with the Italian pimp, and we basically find out that the governor is kind of in his pocket, and he basically is mad at him because Domino is dead. But there's just this one moment that I have to mention where the governor starts trying to talk, and the pimp just goes, shh.
I love that.
He shushes him and just makes click noises.
Yeah, he's like...
I was like, that's how you talk to politicians.
Yes, you treat them like little children.
That made me laugh so hard. But yeah, he
hilarious.
basically tells him, like, you can either get the fuck out and do this on your own, or, you can go all the way with me.
Yeah.
And of course, he decides to go all the way. So I guess he's been feeding his campaign and giving him money and shit like that.
Yeah. And then we go to this baseball game because their crew is being monitored since one of their people got killed. Or their informant got killed. And so they have to meet at a baseball game, and the chief shows up and just he is so manic because every person he has to talk to, he has to be standing directly in front of. Like, he is just
screaming at them.
Screaming, yes, because he cannot just stand a couple of feet back and address everyone that is sitting there in a line.
Well,
he has to...
It's such a fucking comedic scene because he is just walking back and forth. Because they're all just standing there still, and he's walking back and forth from person to person, just screaming at everyone.
And I don't feel like it was supposed to be funny, but it's hilarious.
Okay, so basically, from there, we find out that Domino's actually alive.
Yeah.
It was her friend Tiffany that got shot in the face. But she basically comes through the door while Burt Reynolds is in her apartment. Yeah. And she's carrying grocery bags, so she doesn't see, like, the blood and everything like that.
Well, the door was open, but she would still notice that big piece of fucking cardboard over it and then be like, oh, let me look this way. Hey, there's a bunch of fucking blood on the wall. Like, it's not like it's hidden or anything. There's very obviously a crime scene has happened here. And so Burt Reynolds gets to meet the love of his life. And essentially he's just like, you have to come with me. And
well, the funny thing is that he's basically telling her that her best friend just got shot and killed.
Yeah.
But he cannot stop smiling at her. Like, he's telling her that she's in danger, someone's trying to kill her, he needs to take her somewhere safe.
Yeah.
But every time after he says something, or she says anything to him, he just smiles at her.
Yeah. And
it's really weird.
And she is taking this entire thing extremely well. She is very compliant with the entire thing, mostly. Like, she puts up very little resistance to the entire prospect of her having to leave her house, and that her best friend was just murdered.
Oh, but then we get to go to what is going to become my favorite scene of the movie, where Burt Reynolds basically takes her I guess before he takes her somewhere safe, we get to see that his buddy is about to get killed by the assassin. Yeah. He's talking with Nash, is that his name?
Yeah, Nash. Yeah,
Nash.
That's his buddy.
Okay, so he's talking to him on the phone, and apparently the tapes have been stolen. Mm-hmm. And we basically see the assassin, like, you know, getting his shotgun ready in the background, and he's about to go kill him. And then, you know, we of course don't actually see the death. We just have to assume it happens.
Like, it's never even really established that Nash is dead throughout the entire movie. We just kind of learn that he is.
Yeah, it's just spoken in, like, a throwaway line.
Yeah. And so that happens. We get to a house that apparently Burt Reynolds, on a cop's salary, can afford 2 places to live. He could afford to buy his old home that he goes to on the weekends.
Yeah, his old family home.
And he has pictures, like half naked pictures of Domino, like still taped up on the wall. And
well, here's the funny thing is that she calls him out. She's like, why do you have my pictures on the wall?
Yeah.
Instead of just playing it cool and being like, well, because I was surveilling you, this is my job, I was taking notes and stuff like that. He's just like, I don't know.
And it's just dropped. It's just like, okay, I guess
and
that's that.
And then it cuts to him after she goes to take a shower, and he's like, I forgot about the pictures.
You putz.
Yeah.
The second time putz has been uttered in this movie, like it's fucking Happy Days or something.
Yeah, so basically after she gets out of the shower, she's just like, oh, I'm so tired, I want to go to sleep. And Burt Reynolds just starts getting angry, like he wants to get information out of her.
Oh, this is my favorite
scene. Yeah, favorite scene of the movie. But basically he just starts like asking her who the guy's name is, what his last name is, and then just gets mad because she's just like blowing him off.
Oh, no,
and he picks her up.
Oh, wait, before this. When she gets out of the shower, she's like, I just want to lay down for a minute. He just grabs her and picks her up and throws her against the wall. He's just like, you had a shower, now you want a nap? How about a sucker? This isn't a resort. Like, what do you think happens in a resort? Like, you get suckers?
But yeah, pretty much she's just like kind of blowing him off, and yeah, he just starts getting very angry and yelling and violent with her, and just like it's like, we don't have time, we're fresh out of time.
Yeah, he's just like, oh, they're trying to kill us, and he is freaking the fuck out, and he's just like, so you want to hit me? She's like, I bet you like punching people. Like, sometimes.
Yeah, that was the line. It's like, I bet you enjoy hitting people. Sometimes, yeah.
Just like, you enjoy punching and kicking people and slapping them. Sometimes, yeah. Once again, the line's just repeated for no reason.
Yeah. And really, like, this scene just escalates quickly.
So
like,
quickly.
You just think, like, he's trying to, like, get her attention. Like, dude, they're trying to kill us. Fucking tell me what's going on.
Yeah.
But then he ends up, like, throwing her down on the bed, and she hits him, so... then I was basically just like, you're pissing Burt Reynolds off. He's gonna smack the fuck out of you.
It is.
But then he does! He smacks the fuck out of her. I didn't really expect him to hit her, but he does.
Oh, no, he pimp slaps the shit out of her a couple of times.
Yeah, not just like once, like, hey, snap out of it. He just like hits her like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, and once again, it's just such a violent tonal shift in what's happening. You're just like, whoa, this came out of nowhere.
I basically think that they were setting up this shot, and Burt Reynolds was like, all right, I'm going to do some acting now. And so he just starts yelling and getting angry, and then like just hits her, and he's just like, yeah, badass like, Burt Reynolds.
He's like, hey, crew, you might want to take a step back. It's about to get real. You're about to see some major acting in here. Like, you can tell, like, this is his scene. He's just like, I am about to go all out, and he fucking does.
He does go all out, and it's a very good scene.
Oh, it's awesome.
She's just left crying and saying how much she hates him. But then it pretty much cuts to like the next day, and they're just like sitting there talking and laughing and
like
flirting with each other.
Happened.
Like nothing happened. So I was like, okay, I guess hitting a woman makes her fall in love with you as long as you love stained glass windows and your mother.
But also, he was really worried because everyone's about to get killed. The next day, no, not such a worry anymore.
He's just back to whittling in his house, just working on the house.
And also, back to the child molesting. It has, because there's children. His house is right beside a playground. And you hear children and see them playing outside. And he says, and they're talking about it, he says, I could watch kids playing all day long. And she says, you're a strange guy, Sharky.
He's like, yeah, that's what everybody says.
It's like, yeah, he is a really fucking strange guy. That is a strange fucking thing to say.
In like the very next scene when they're sitting on the thing and he's whittling on the door, they say the exact same thing. She's like, you're a strange guy, Sharky. And he's like, yeah, that's what everybody tells me.
Yeah, it's just... And he carves this rose, and the girl walks in on him doing it, and
and basically this scene, I was just like, oh, just fuck already, Jesus.
Yeah, it ends up to them making out and him carrying her to have sex. I was just like, this actually.
By the way, the music cue in that when he actually kisses and he picks her up and everything, I was like, come on, guys, it's not that epic. Tone it down a little.
It really, it made the whole thing seem very unearned. It's just like, you know what, they really haven't had that much time to like each other.
No, like, Reynolds has fallen in love with her, but then when he actually gets to meet her and be around her, he's kind of a dick to her, and he yells at her, and he fucking hits her. And then the next day, like, he says 2 things, I guess, that reveal his sensitive side, and she's like, oh, I like him too. And then they fuck. To epic music.
I think I love him now. It's... strange.
Yeah, it basically, the music that plays makes it seem like this movie was just about them falling in love, and it's been nothing but build up and like playing hard to get and shit, building up to them actually doing it. Yeah. It was not. Like, this is a very small part of the movie that doesn't come into play until at least over half an hour in. But it acts like we've just been building up to this, and the whole audience wants to see them get together. Like, we want this to happen. That's how it plays it. And that is not the case whatsoever.
No. Once again, the movie is positing something that is not on the screen. It is not what we actually see is happening. Okay, so now we go to the Italian's restaurant, or whatever is happening.
No, yeah, the Italian pimp is eating in a restaurant. It's Chinese food, by the way. And he even makes a point to mention that it's Chinese food, and he's like, and it's 100% pure. It hasn't been tainted by a Western civilization.
It has not been stained by American corruption.
Oh, yeah.
Which, once again, this weird Chinese or Asian element that doesn't make sense. Like, where is
it? Really doesn't, but it's basically just a scene where Burt Reynolds as Sharky can go and confront the pimp and just basically talk shit to him and be like, I'm about to get you.
Yeah.
But for some fucking reason, not only does he do that, but he tells him that Domino is still alive. Yeah. He basically just puts his head on a fucking plate for him. He's like, all right, well, guess what? You're about to go to jail. The one person that could put you in jail is still alive. Why don't you come kill me now?
Yeah, I just want to be like, okay, what is your macro plan here? Like, what were you thinking going into this?
Yeah, wouldn't it make more sense to maybe just get all the evidence against him and then just pick him up when you're taking him to jail and not just go and threaten him and make him worried and make him do something to fucking shut you up?
Yeah, that would make far more sense. But no, he decides to go threaten him.
Sharky's not a very good cop. We find out.
I feel like it posits that he is, but he does not display that.
Again, I think this is supposed to be like a Dirty Harry moment where he just walks up to the fucking bad guy and he's like, you know what? You're nothing but a turd. And sitting at the bottom of a commode. And me, I got my hand on the chain. And I'm just waiting to flush you down.
Just like, but
this is actually dialogue from the scene.
yeah, no, that is real dialogue that is in this movie. And just it's like, what are you doing? Like, you're not even close to nailing this guy. Like, you were just
you just gave away your fucking ace in the hole.
Yeah,
you just gave him the one thing you had to work against him. You told him that the girl's still alive.
Yeah, you showed your hand before the ante was even in. Like, it's insane. And then we go to Nash's house. Burt Reynolds walks in, and I love that when he walks in, you see in the background the mantle over his fireplace. There is a statue of a slice of watermelon prominently displayed.
Yeah, I saw that and I was like, really? Why watermelon?
Yeah, like, who? Why would you put that there? Why not just leave nothing there? Why not put a candlestick there? Like, there is...
But no, it's a statue of like a cut open piece of watermelon.
Yeah. Okay, and then Burt Reynolds goes in the basement to look for him, and then ninjas, and it is the worst choreographed fight scene ever. I feel like this fight scene was choreographed the day they were doing it, because everything is so phoned in. Everyone is ducking way before anything happens. No one is actually...
Not only that, but I think everything in this scene was Burt Reynolds' idea.
Yeah,
he was just like, okay, how can we make it look like I'm a badass and I can kick ninjas' asses? Because he basically, like, you saw these ninjas work like, they're supposed to be like professionals. They're supposed to be professional killers, and they basically start fighting, and then they just kind of get all bumbly and like bumping into each other and shit once Burt Reynolds is there, and he's just like punching the shit out of them and stuff. For some reason, he picks up a chair and like he swings and misses and like hits a wall, but then he keeps trying to hit someone with the chair, and it's just not working. Why drop the chair when you were just punching him? It was working okay. You pick up the chair and everything goes to shit.
Yeah,
it slows you down.
Oh man, it was horrible. Such a horrible fight scene. And then Burt Reynolds, they end up getting the best of him, and he wakes up on a houseboat in the middle of a lake. And the best fucking scene in the movie. I love this scene.
Hands down.
We find out that Smiley was a mole the entire time. And he's just like, yeah, we're gonna... He's just like, yeah, we're gonna cut off the joints of each of your fingers. And after 10 times, I don't think you have any joints left. Like, no, because there are 20 joints on people's finger, or 18, I think. Yeah, there's 18 joints in all on people's fingers. Like, there's not 10.
Yeah, I think he was just counting fingers. But yeah, he said joints, so I expected them to actually, like, cut off the tops of the fingers and then cut off the other joint of the finger. And that would have been cool. But no, they were just, like, basically just cutting off his fucking fingers.
Yeah. Well, no, because they cut off one whole finger, and then, like, another one has a joint cut off, like, the top of it. So they did cut off the joints. It was just it was someone's extremely bad math on what joints are and how many fingers people have. Well, it was
basically just so he could have kind of a joke line where he's just like, all right, so you got 10 answers, and then I guess you won't have any more joints.
I mean, this scene is just, it's filmed so well. It's dark and just creepy, and just, it's one of the better torture scenes I think that have been filmed.
And this is definitely the best part of Burt Reynolds' performance.
Oh,
in the film,
yeah,
too.
by far. And Smiley, who you thought was just a bumbling idiot, just like, this guy's horrible. But no, he kills that scene. Smiley is killing it.
He does. Once he actually flips and he's like in bad guy mode, he's actually really fucking good in this scene.
Yeah.
And like I said, I think he kind of like elevates Burt Reynolds a bit, because Burt Reynolds in this scene, he is just kind of like quiet and he's reserved and he's holding back a lot. And then when his fingers actually do get cut off, just like his reaction and just kind of like not even screaming or anything, but just kind of like crying a little bit, like, that was powerful shit.
Yeah, no, it was extremely good. Very out of place for this movie, but extremely good. And Smiley sends the other people out. Burt Reynolds ends up getting the better of them, and he kills one of the ninjas when they run in. One of them goes to hide, and I love, there's this whole stalking scene where Burt Reynolds is walking around with a spear gun. And I love, because he's getting up, he doesn't know where the ninja is, and the ninja pops out 15 feet away from Burt Reynolds screaming. Just like, that is not very ninja-like of you.
Well, exactly. That's the thing, is that we have this long drawn out, like, cat and mouse kind of thing, where we know that the ninja is hiding, so we know he's going to pop up on him sooner or later, and he's going to have to shoot him with the gun. But yeah, it waits until like he's kind of down, like halfway between down in the belly of the boat and like halfway up. Yeah. And then he just pops up from like way away from him.
Yeah, and screams. Doesn't just like peek around the edge. He jumps out and he's like, "Hiya!"
Yeah, I was just like,
What?
that's a silly ninja. Like, you're not good at your job at all. So he pops out,
No.
gives him a completely open shot with a spear gun, and of course he gets shot with a spear gun, and then Burt Reynolds walks up and kicks him in the spear and kicks him off the boat.
Yes. That was awesome. And from there we go to the governor's the governor. He has just been voted in, and he's giving his acceptance speech. And
Which, by the way, there is only like 2 black people in the audience that apparently voted for him.
Yeah.
This is Atlanta. There is a large black population there. I find it weird that there was just like only like 1 or 2 black people. I think there's maybe a total of 5 black people in the whole movie.
I mean, maybe he's in the Republican camp, so that might explain it. The governor, he starts seeing Domino in the crowd, who he thinks is dead, and she pops up just randomly everywhere in the crowd, like she is snaking her way throughout the entire crowd.
Well, at first, I totally thought he was just like having visions of her.
It appears
because that's kind
that
of
way,
how
yeah.
it's played. Yeah.
It's played off that way, and then she just kind of keeps popping up at random places in the crowd. And then the last time you see Sharky right beside her, and like, oh, I guess he made it back. And the governor gets taken away for corruption. He gets questioned, and then we cut to the main pimp bad guy, and what we find out is his brother, who has been the assassin the entire time. And he's trying to pay his brother off, like, hey, you need to disappear. I'm going to go reset myself somewhere else. I'll call you after that. And he's just like, no, you have to take me. And he, like, this whole drug addict side comes out of it, like, no, you can't do this to me. And
which is actually, it was a really good scene.
Yeah, I dug it. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's the thing, is that there wasn't much to the assassin throughout the movie. Like, we see him do a little bit of drugs and everything like that. We see him just kind of kill people. But we see that he's kind of off. But here where he actually kind of breaks down a little bit, and we find out that the pimp is his brother. Like, that was a really good scene.
It was. And, yeah, he ends up freaking out, shooting his brother in the back. And so it was like,
Which, by the way, when he shoots him, I was like, seriously? You get shot, instead of having like a big cool death scene where you fall into all the big fucking fish tanks to your left and break them and cause a cool scene? No, you fall over to the couch on your right. What the fuck, movie?
Well, come on, they'd have to pay for that.
But still, like, they obviously spent some money on this movie. They could have made him fall into the fish tanks, made a cool looking scene where water and fish go everywhere as he dies, and make him have a big, tremendous death scene. Instead, he just falls on a couch and dies.
I almost like how downplayed it is, because so far the Italian mob boss has been, or just boss, he's not even part of a mob, it doesn't seem like. He's played off as such an untouchable character, and he is killed in such an easy fashion. It just dies with no like fireworks, no nothing. It's so downplayed. I love it. It's just like, oh, I guess there's the villain of our movie is dead already. Like,
well, no, I totally see what you're saying with that, but I do love that when Burt Reynolds and his crew get there, like, he sees that he's dead, and Burt Reynolds just starts beating the shit out of him. It's like, dude, he's dead. He's like, no, I wanted to kill him.
I wanted to do this. And then it goes to where they're trying to chase the brother through, even though they have the building on lockdown. They're chasing him through. They end up in this place that looks like a basement, but I guess it's just like the subfloor of the roof.
Well, it said something about like the AC and heating units are in there or something.
Okay,
but it doesn't even look like it's in the building.
No,
like it looks very off, like they are in some old abandoned warehouse or something.
Yeah, and it's him and the Zen black guy, and there is some of the worst dialogue in the movie traded in these scenes. It is insane, where they're trying to get this guy, and he just keeps disappearing and appearing, and there's like, fucking...
Yeah, this is pretty much like, confused the shit out of me. I was like, time, space, building, what's happening?
None of it works.
Like, it seems like they're right behind him every step of the way, but then he just gets all this time. Like, basically, when Arch... Well, I guess we'll start first. Papa, the one cop, he basically gets killed when they're kind of chasing him around, and they find him on the stairwell. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of funny because Arch is like yelling, like, "You fucked up, Papa!" And then they walk out, see he got shot, and he's like, "It's not your fault, Papa."
It's not your fault, Papa. And before this, one of my favorite, just to point out how horrible some of this dialogue is. One of the exchanges between Sharky and Arch is Sharky's just like, "Fucking ghost. Sharky, this guy is a fucking ghost. I just said that." "Yeah, you did." That's the line. Like, that is...
Exactly. It's just the repeating dialogue thing. It doesn't make any fucking sense. So then basically, they come down to the end of it, and Arch gets killed too. But this is what makes no fucking sense with like time and space in this movie, is that basically Burt Reynolds apparently is like following steps down, and he sees bloody money that like kind of leaving a trail.
Yeah.
But apparently the assassin like set all that up and then went and hid somewhere else. But then after they get into the shootout and he runs away, it takes Burt Reynolds so fucking long to get back to where they are. How did he go all the way down there and set up all that money and then come all the way back and then wait, not even knowing if someone would have been there?
He's a fucking ghost, man.
I don't know.
And so the guy's gotten shot like 4 times, but assumedly because he's on the drugs, he's not going down. And,
I guess he just doesn't feel it or something like that.
I love this the showdown scene, because Burt Reynolds walks into this unfinished apartment and he sees this blood smear on the wall and he goes to it.
But actually, I will just say one more thing before this. After Arch gets shot and before they go to the final showdown, was that scene played for laughs where he keeps trying to leave and Arch just keeps being like, Sharky, and then he says something else like, bury that guy, and then he starts going like, hey Sharky, I mean, like, really bury that guy. And then he starts like, hey, Sharky, I mean, like, fucking put his ass in the ground with a spike through his arm.
Yeah, because he's not real.
Because he's not real, but it's just like, it seems like it's supposed to play as like a bonding scene between them or something. But it's kind of seems like it's played for laughs, but it's not really funny that he just won't let him go and he keeps saying Sharky. And even when he finally does leave, he's like, Sharky? Hey, Sharky.
He's like, I think I ruined a perfectly good suit. What?
Yeah, that was his final line. He just wanted to say one more joke. He's like, I think I ruined a perfectly good jacket.
No, you're right, because it feels like it's played for emotional resonance. It's like that scene where it's just like, I was 2 days away from retirement. You gotta get him for me, Shark. You gotta get him for me. And
I wish someone had. No one called him Shark.
Yeah, they should have.
They all said Sharky. No one affectionately referred to him as Shark for short, and I don't know why.
Yeah, that's such a missed opportunity. But like you're saying, it was played for that. Then it's also played for laughs, and so you come out like, I don't know if I'm supposed to care that he's been shot, because he seems kind of all right with it.
But he keeps like making these breathing noises like he's about to fucking die.
And he doesn't, and we don't know.
No, we don't know. He might very well die.
But he might very well be alive. We have no idea by the end of the movie.
We really don't. But it's weird because I was kind of laughing at that scene, but I felt wrong laughing at it because I wasn't sure if it was supposed to be funny and he was going to be okay.
I don't think...
Or if like it would have been bad because he's about to die.
I don't know if anyone knew what was happening in that scene. I don't know if anyone knew how they were supposed to be playing this. It was insane. And so we get to the final showdown scene, and it was a really cool shot where Sharky comes and it's the assassin, and he's just kind of breathing really heavy, and he's silhouetted against the light coming in through the window, and he's standing against it. He's just like,
that was creepy.
Oh, it's creepy as shit. It was so cool. And he's like, tell me, am I gonna die? Burt Reynolds is like, he's like, oh yeah, you're gonna die, all right. And he's like, no, not by you. And he picks up the gun to shoot himself, and Sharky freaks the fuck out. He's like, no! Just starts blasting him.
I'm gonna kill you!
And blasting him with bullets. And he
actually screams die.
I didn't even catch that. But
he gets shot out of the window, and then we see him falling, but it's... you can go ahead and take this. This is beautiful.
Because I love that he kind of stumbles backwards towards the window, but then when he actually goes out the window, he is propelled like 10 feet out of the window, and then just fall like a horrible dummy shot of him falling to his death, and it cuts to Burt Reynolds and Domino on the playground with a bunch of children, and that's the movie.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. There's no closure to it. It's not like we don't find out if Arch is okay. Like, as far as we know, he's the only member of his team that survived, and it went without a scratch, pretty much, by the way, except for those 2 fingers in the last scene. Like, he didn't get shot or anything. But yeah, from that, basically, bad guy falls out of a window and dies. We cut to him pushing Domino on a tire swing. Credits. That is. It was just such an odd cut too, because this is such a like kind of a big badass scene where he killed the bad guy, and then it cuts and it's just like the most upbeat, light, happy music as he's pushing on the tire swing at the end. That's it.
It's so insane. And I'm just gonna end this by saying, I have nothing else to say about this movie. It was amazing. I highly recommend it. And I
also highly recommend this movie. I have one more thing to say though.
All right.
And it goes back to the tagline. Nobody leans on Sharky's machine. Fucking everybody leans on Sharky's machine in this movie. Everyone in his machine fucking dies except for him. And I guess the captain. But yeah, all of his men, they're dead. They're gone. Everybody leaned on his fucking machine. So, that was Sharky's Machine. We both highly recommend this insane, wonderful film. We guarantee you won't regret giving it a watch. Next week, join us as we discuss the 1998 Jerry Springer vehicle, Ringmaster. A feature-length version of a Jerry Springer episode? I mean, that's gotta be good, right? Says my 13-year-old self. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time at Crushed Celluloid.